Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. InfoWarsStore.com.
Now, coming up after this segment, Vani Hari, the food babe, is going to be joining me to talk about her next mega campaign to get corporations to take dangerous chemicals out of our food supply that are slowly killing and harming us. But what about something else that is rather ubiquitous now? I'm talking about Wi-Fi. Now, a boarding school in central Massachusetts is being sued by parents who claim that the school's Wi-Fi signal is making their son sick. The parents say their 12-year-old son has electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, and he's suffering headaches, nosebleeds, and nausea since the school activated a stronger wireless signal in 2013. The family is seeking $250,000 in damages, and they want the school to switch to Ethernet cable internet or turn down the Wi-Fi signal. Now, the school, obviously, they say in their statement that a company analyzed the Wi-Fi. They found the signal is well within federal safety limits. A number of people complain about these invisible rays, think that they're making them sick, but doctors say, there's no evidence or link between Wi-Fi and illness. So it's pretty much certain that all of these safety limits they're going to err on the side of safety, but the side of safety that's good for the industry. Apple isn't going to let you shut down their cellular rain just because it's making a few people feel a little bit ill. Now, so it's not going to be, to good for society. Wi-Fi is everywhere. It is ubiquitous. And to help you understand that, 3 Scandinavian guys set out to make Wi-Fi visible so you could actually see it. Now, this is an art project they're doing for their PhD. They set up a device. It has blue lights on it that respond to Wi-Fi signals, sort of like the signal bars that you would see on your phone. Well, you can note the effect of the Wi-Fi strength on the blue bulbs. The stronger the signal is, the higher the dotted lines become. So by doing this, they can have an estimate of what the Wi-Fi coverage would look like if it were evident. So they've got this device and they're slowly walking through a seemingly pretty deserted area, and they're using a long exposure camera, about 30 seconds there, so you can actually see what the Wi-Fi signal looks like as they're walking through this campus. I mean, imagine how many Wi-Fi devices are set up in a large city. Every single house, every school, every business has their own Wi-Fi device set up. So all of those invisible signals are everywhere, all over the place. Now, you'll recall earlier this year, Forbes reported on a study that actually suggested that Wi-Fi exposure is more dangerous to kids than previously thought. This is the International Agency for Research on Cancer. It's part of the UN's World Health Organization. They classify radio frequency electromagnetic fields as Class 2B carcinogens. So radios, televisions, microwave ovens, cell phones, and Wi-Fi has the same rating as chloroform and DDT. And it's everywhere, and they want to pump it into your children's classroom. So they're saying you need to limit children's exposure altogether, if it's not possible to just eliminate it, but, really limit it if you can. They're saying children and fetuses absorb more microwave radiation. And according to the authors of the study, their bodies are relatively smaller, their skulls are thinner, and their brain tissue is more absorbent. And fetuses are even more vulnerable than children, so pregnant women should absolutely avoid exposing their fetus to microwave radiation. Now, we spoke to Dr. David O. Carpenter last year. He testified on this issue before the president's cancer panel a number of years ago, and he is basically wanting to dispel the misinformation that's surrounding the effects of a world addicted to Wi-Fi. And we're finding that a lot of these studies are actually put on by the wireless carriers who are, of course, are going to want to have a positive review of their product. But short of moving to a rural area, what can people do to protect themselves? We're hearing a lot more reports of this electro hypersensitivity.
Well, even moving to a rural area isn't going to be very satisfactory because for example, with use of a cell phone, the further you are away from the cell tower, the stronger the signal that is generated in the phone. So and there are cell towers just about everywhere now. So what can people do? Well, I think there are a number of things you can do that are relatively benign. You can avoid use of a cell phone except when it has a wired earpiece, a wired connection. There's no exposure from wired connections. You can avoid having Wi-Fi in your house, or if you have Wi-Fi, you can put the router away from the areas that people are in. I think one thing that I see as being very dangerous, again, we don't have the solid experimental evidence, but the fact that the whole country, and supported by the initiatives from the Obama administration, the whole country is in a push to have Wi-Fi computer classrooms. Now, I'm 100% in favor of having every school child have access to the internet and learn to use computers, but it doesn't have to be Wi-Fi. It can be wired. And there is so much evidence that at least some people, if not everybody, is going to be adversely affected by the excessive radio frequency fields that you would have if you have a computer classroom where 20 kids or 30 kids are sitting on their wireless laptops, generating a room just chock full of radio frequency radiation.
Right, and I hear a lot of the argument there is that it'll be more expensive to get the classroom hardwired, but it really, over the long term, it seems the cost would offset itself, just concerns for your health.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, what is the cost of having a child develop leukemia? What is the cost of having a child in school whose learning ability is impaired because of these radio frequency radiations? Now, I need to say there that the evidence for EMFs impairing cognitive function is still quite weak, but there's enough evidence so that parents and teachers and school administrators should be concerned about that. And then we have this issue, which is still controversial, of electrohypersensitivity, that some people are unusually sensitive to electromagnetic fields, whether power line fields or radio frequency fields, and just feel ill. They feel mentally dull, they have headaches, they have aches and pains, sometimes they're nauseous, often they have ringing in their ears, and they just feel unwell. Now, I get calls regularly from electrosensitive people. Now, they're often referred by their physician to a psychiatrist with the thought that this is just psychosomatic. Now, for some people, it may well be psychosomatic, but I'm convinced for other people it is not, that this is a real syndrome where some people respond to these fields with a greater intensity than do others. And I think that as a nation that tries to reduce exposures and harm to people, we should be regulating on the basis of those that are most vulnerable and most sensitive to these fields. I get calls all the time from people that want to know, you know, where can I go to live? Because I can't stand living where I am because of the neighbors' smart meters, the Wi-Fi in the community, the cell tower next door, the cell tower on the roof of my apartment, this kind of thing. And there aren't easy answers to those people, but they are clearly suffering. Most of them, I suspect, from the radio frequency radiation or the power line radiation. Perhaps some of them are just people that are ill for other reasons and want to blame the EMFs. But I don't think that the electrohypersensitivity can be passed off as being only a psychosomatic disease. It's not.
Absolutely, and especially as there's such a strong push now to get the entire country on the grid, even though we have these vulnerabilities with hacking and things like that, but just at the very base level, there are genuine concerns for people's health. So you've got to remember, all of this is relatively new technology. It's going to take decades for it to show up as cancers or neurological disorders. We are the long-term test subjects. So the question is, which control group are you going to want to be a part of when the data adds up? Very frightening information there. Now, coming up, the food babe will be joining us, telling us about her latest campaign. campaign to get antibiotics out of the meat.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.